Welcome to Questions in Actor, Laurent Pitre. I'm your host, Laurent Pitre, and today I'm here with a dynamic duo, a family feud of filmmakers. Wonderful, incredible, nostalgic. Who are you guys again?
My name is Adam. I'm an actor, podcaster, and a producer. And I've been acting for a couple of years now, and it's been a lot of fun.
And my name is
Nice.
Matthew Lupis, director, producer, writer of All Is Fine in 89. And happy to be here.
I am so happy to have you guys here. And for the viewers at home watching or the listeners listening, these two are related, right? You guys are brothers. Is that the deal?
We are brothers. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Who's older, who's younger?
I'm definitely
Can you
older.
guess? No.
Yes.
I could have said twins, but no, it's interesting. Cool.
No.
I'm so glad
We're-
to have you guys on. It's
Yeah.
the first time I'm having two people on at the same time. But I'm curious. Let's similar to your your production company Westona,
Mhm.
I'm gonna hit rewind. I'm gonna go all the way back to maybe when Matthew is born, because he's born first.
Yeah.
And then we got Adam popping out too. Where are you guys born and raised? And where are like the first few influences that sort of shape the person that you both become? And maybe let's start with Matthew, since he was born first.
Yeah. So I was born in 1989, hence the title of our film.
Nice.
The inspiration, right?
Wow.
But yeah, I was born in 1989, born in Etobicoke, so just outside Toronto. Is that considered part of Toronto? But anyways, so yeah, I was raised there up until 12 years old. And then we moved to Vaughan, so just a little more north. And I grew up on Westona Street, which I guess you alluded to is the name of our production company. And we actually moved there when Adam was born, just a few months after Adam was born. So he's 10 years younger. And
No way.
yeah. So that's the sequel.
I couldn't tell what age Adam is. It's great.
Because I got the beard. If I shaved
I
it, I
know,
would've
but
looked
if
like
you
I'm
shaved
16
off,
years
you
old.
could be 16 again. It's so cool.
Yeah.
That's what we tried
I
to
have
do,
the same Benjamin Button thing too. If I
Literally,
shave my
yeah.
beard, we're back in high school, you and I.
Oh yeah,
I
I
love
just
that.
shaved
That's
it this
so
morning. I'm like, oh man, I missed the beard, man.
Yeah.
You know what? It could
Yeah.
bleed you. It could do the opposite effect, right?
Yes.
So
Oh yeah.
but yeah, so I grew up on Westona Street. Had a pretty normal childhood. Nothing extraordinary. I'm not just saying that. It was good. It was a great childhood. Yeah, I guess Adam, take it from there.
Yeah. What happened when you popped out?
A lot happened.
A lot
I
happened
ruined
at that
the family. I ruined the family. I'm joking.
It was
Well,
fine
it's
up
10
until
years
then.
later.
It was fine. Yeah. Sorry?
Okay, so it's 10 years later. You guys are 10 years apart. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
What an interesting thing.
Yeah, same as Matt. We had a great childhood. We're very close, Matt and I, and we also have a sister. And
Yes.
but him and I, we have that. We're guys. We have that brother dynamic and stuff. But we grew up like always really close, and like, for example, like playing video games together, watching movies. Like, a lot of my favorite movies come from my brother. Like the films that he showed me, right? Like a lot of the comedies. Obviously loving like Leonardo DiCaprio films too.
Yeah.
So yeah, like things like that, and that's what kind of like why we wanted to do this film too. Which, sorry if I'm jumping ahead a bit, but yeah, we wanted to do this because of that reason. We love films. I got into acting after, and we thought it'd be a great opportunity to like, let's put our minds together and creatively, and like, let's see what we can do, right? So, and we've always had that passion for it.
So tell me, what like, you guys were both growing up, were films a part of the family? Was filmmaking or art making? Because I know you have a sister, so tell me also, what was like the dynamic of the kids and the parents? Like, what kind of early artistic influences did you guys have?
Yeah.
So I'll touch on it first. Yeah. So actually, it's funny. Matt used to he did like some extra work back in the day. I
Oh,
don't know how old were you again? Like what, like 16,
Yeah,
17
like
or no?
background performer stuff, and
nice.
did that for a couple summers, like just outside of school. Uh,
Yeah.
Nice.
but yeah, in
And
terms,
then
yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah, no, in terms of like artistic stuff, like I can start like so I was always a big reader, always loved
Hmm.
reading, always loved writing. Like that was always my strength in school. It was always something I enjoyed doing. Um, so and always loved movies, television shows, movies. I was one of those kids where I could watch like from like 6 o'clock till like bedtime. I'd watch TV. I was one of those, and
Yeah.
and I don't know, it just brought me comfort and brought me happiness and even reading, like I remember as a kid, I would read in the car, like stuff like that. I was just
Mm,
always into that, and yeah, and then as I got a little older, that kind of fell to the wayside. Unfortunately, like real life gets in the way. Making a living in the arts is tough, and so I kind of went away from that, and then
mm,
Adam, started getting into acting, and that kind of reignited that fire a little bit in me,
I
and I
love it.
started writing again. Our
So
sister
cool.
too, our sister Nicole, she was a makeup artist on this film.
Oh,
She's
nice.
always been into the arts. She went to the rap program in high school, which is a regional arts program.
At
Um,
St. Elizabeth, yeah.
yeah,
It's
so
the same high school I went to.
so she was
Okay,
really
cool.
into drama, into acting, into theater, and she was really good at it. Still is. So I think that kind of also kept that fire alive in me a little bit. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's what, like, subliminally, like, growing up around that,
Hmm.
especially with my sister, right? Because again, I ended up going to the same high school as her. I didn't go for drama though. Funny enough, I went for music. So when I was younger,
Oh,
I played guitar, drums, and then I went to the regional arts program at St. Elizabeth for saxophone because you had to play
whoa.
like a wind instrument, right?
Damn.
So yeah, I auditioned on guitar, but I ended up. They said, okay, well now you have to learn a new instrument. So in like 2 months, I had to
Whoa.
learn to play the saxophone. I took like three
Whoa.
lessons a week. Like it was really, yeah. So it was very rigorous to do. But yeah, like that's like it's still an art, right? Like music and stuff.
Mm,
Um, and then funny enough, when I was cutting hair, one of my clients, it was right before COVID happened. Who was actually our DP on the film, Chris
mm,
Cacuso. He was one of my one of my clients at the time. It was in like January ish,
hmm.
because if COVID happened in March, and he was
Yes.
like, I'm like, yeah, so what are you up to and stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I'm still in high school. I'm trying to do like a just I want to do like a short film for fun. And I was like, oh, I'm like, well, hey, if you ever get an actor, I've always wanted to do it, right? Like I never been in a short film.
Oh,
He's like, that's how it happened. And then I ended up doing it was
whoa.
called The Envelope. It was like a short film. I don't even think he released it or
Oh,
anything, but
okay.
I did that in like February, and it was
Uh-huh.
so funny. The first time I was doing that, um, I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm so good at it. Wow, it's so easy. And then I remember like looking back and like, wow, that was dog shit. Like that was terrible. So it
Yes.
really, yeah, it really puts everything in perspective. Like it's
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to do.
No, not
'Cause
at
I
all.
know you're also an actor, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to put in the work for it, man. And it really humbled me, right? So but I
Mm,
realized I had a passion for it, so that's why I really wanted to keep pursuing it.
yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like how it kind of came to be.
Wow. Right before the world shut down, right?
Mhm.
Like you were like, my world's opening up. I'm an actor now. And then March is like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in a
But
weird
yet
way,
not really, right? Because the acting industry still continued during that time. So tell me what that time was like for maybe the both of you. Like it's super cool that you mentioned that you're a barber and just drop that in there. We're gonna have to talk about that later and how that sort of came and also what you do, Matt. What sort of parallel jobs you had on the side, because I find that's also insightful. But talk to me about that period for the both of you. Like, oh my God, the world shut down. I personally felt like that was a really good thing for me because it forced me to look within and really clarify my purpose and go after things that I really needed to do and let all the other worries by the wayside. So tell me what that period was like for the both of you. Maybe start with Matt and then we'll go to Adam.
Yeah, like it had its pros and cons, like you said. I think it opened up our eyes to different opportunities and different sort of mindsets. Um, during that time I had a child,
Oh,
starting my
nice.
family, and I was still working. Like, so I'm in marketing and finance.
Ah,
And I got
nice.
in the finance world, especially in terms of like residential mortgages, which I'm a big hand in that. That was very
Nice.
busy during that time. It was like the peak of the real estate
Yes.
market in Ontario. So it was
Yeah.
busy. It was a chance to, raise a kid and focus on family. Um, you
Nice.
know, not to get too deep into the woods, but we did have some difficult times too. Our mother had a stroke around that
Oh,
time, and so there was a lot of
so sorry.
good and a lot of bad and a lot of difficult
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
I think it made us appreciate life a lot more, appreciate living life and going after what we wanted, which kind of ties into
Mm,
what came to be with this movie, right? Um,
yeah.
so yeah, it was. I remember like hearing about COVID at first. I was one of those guys at first where I was like, this is gonna be really bad. Like before, like right before we shut down, anything like that, I'm like, this
Uh-huh.
is
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
disaster. And everyone's like, ah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not gonna be
Yeah.
that bad, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
SARS or something. Like it'll come and go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, 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 this is gonna be bad. And it turned out to be really bad. And you know what? I think, like you said, you kind of you take the good and the bad with it. You grow as a person, and I think everyone learned a lot and grew individually through that
Yeah.
time period. So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. Yeah. Yeah. Adam, tell me, how was
Yeah,
2020?
yeah, honestly, like everything changed for me, like
Mm-hmm.
drastically. I was cutting hair from 16 years old to up to COVID, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I believe that was because
How
I.
many years?
Oh,
I have no idea how old you are, and I don't want to ask.
no, no, it's okay. No, I'm turning 27 this year,
Oh, wow.
so it was I was 16, and I turned 21 in March when COVID happened. So yeah, it
Oh,
was
wow.
that
4
5 years?
years of being a barber. I love one of my barber is my best friend. Like Andre Guerrero, shout out to this guy in Toronto. He's one of the best barbers in the city. And I totally understand why that gave you probably a superpower when it comes to acting and also your podcast, which you kind of started the channel in 2022. So tell me
That's
about that.
yeah. So everything, yes, like I said, everything changed. So right when, so I was actually before I even knew about COVID. Like this is I would say like a few months before.
Yeah.
I was already kind of starting to not like cutting hair anymore.
Mm,
I don't know. It was just very repetitive, and like yeah, I love the clients. I love people coming in, meeting new people. That was
yes.
obviously I think the best part of the job,
Yeah,
as
the
opposed to actually
connection.
cutting. And then in my head I thought like because there's only so much you can do as a barber in terms of working for somebody, right? I was
Mm,
fully booked every week, so it's like
yep.
I was already hitting my ceiling, and I thought it's either I open up another if it's either I
Barbershop.
open up a place or I
Yeah.
start a product line. So I did start a product line.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, I started it a little bit before COVID happened, but I started
Yeah.
that and I continued that throughout COVID.
During. Mhm.
Started a podcast, and initially the podcast, like I'll start with that first. That
Yeah.
was just having my friends on, or just people that like I was just acquainted with, like not my
Mhm.
my close friends, people that I met either through barbering or I just met through Instagram, social media. Because at that
Mm.
time too, as you know, it was a big peak of like social media
Yep.
influencers. Everyone was at home. What are they gonna do? It's
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
doing,
Connect
you know,
online.
you know what I mean. So and it was good because there was a big surge of like, yeah, a lot of people that came out of that, like even like impressionists.
Yeah.
I interviewed a few people like that at first, and now they're doing
Nice.
great things, man. It's crazy. Like, there's a guy, Matt Friend. I don't know if you know who he is. But he started just
Maybe
doing on
probably.
TikTok, just doing
Mhm.
impressions and stuff, and now he's like
Wow.
everywhere doing the Golden Globes and all these things. So it's
Wow.
really cool, like all the opportunity it's giving people.
Yes.
So I did that, and then I actually was like, okay, I want to do acting, but how do I get into it? How do I get an agent? All these things.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get an agent until actually it was like, was it late 2021, early
Mm.
2022?
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, like for those initially it was just the podcast, and then I got my mortgage license that
Oh,
my brother and I now do together.
nice.
Um, so I've been juggling a bunch of stuff. Sorry if
We're
I'm
attached at the
rambling.
hip.
No, I love this. No, you guys are great. It's such a family unit,
Yeah.
and it really, really inspires me because I feel artists, whether you are born into a family unit or you make that family unit, I think, it's still a process of choosing your family. And finding the people that inspire you. And you know, there's like that saying that you're like kind of like you become the kind of mixture of the 5 people you spend the most
Yep.
time with. So it sounds really good that you all have grown parallel in such deep ways, and that you all have realized your interconnectedness. And it's just super inspiring to hear that you guys both took the leap at different times in different ways, but super inspiring to hear that. So Adam, to see, I totally understand that, like it was a weird time for anyone who wanted to emerge in 2020 in acting. I had already been acting. Luckily I built momentum in 2019, especially on camera, so I ended up going to work during the whole thing, you know. And in fact,
Right.
2020 was probably some of the busiest years of my life. And you're just going on there, kind of like entering a sci-fi film where they're like, we're going to shove something in your nose and tell us your papers and and all this like kind of weird sort of thing. But then like you take your mask off and you'd be like, oh, we're back in real life. And then they're like, put it back on, put it back on.
Yeah.
And you're like, how does this make any sense? You know? So now it just reassures me now that I was like, I'm glad I didn't freak out too much, because now everyone's just like, you know, he's wearing a mask. What a what a scaredy cat. It's like
Yeah.
Everything's changed now.
like
Everything's changed.
4 or 5 years ago, like if you didn't, they were like, you are a Nazi.
Yeah.
so so
It's
it's
one end of the
like
extreme. Yeah.
I learned in that time to also just like breathe, chill. Everybody's in their own process. You know, I'm like, I'm really not into division anymore, or like judging people for their choices. It's like, you know, we freaked
Yeah.
out and thought it would all end, and we're still going here, man. All is fine in 2026, if you know what
Yeah.
I mean. So,
Absolutely.
segueing into actually some of my research, I found out that the two of you collaborated on a short film called The Joshua Painting.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
tell us before we're gonna plug away All Is Fine in '89, which is a fantastic feature film,
Thank
which
you.
is available on Plex TV, I believe, and on Tubi. That's where I watched it.
Yeah.
Um, but first, let's talk about The Joshua Painting, which is also on YouTube on Adam's channel, possibly somewhere else, I'm sure. Um, but let's talk about that. Maybe Matt, tell me how that began, and tell me about. Then afterwards, we'll go to Adam and ask him from his perspective how that was.
Yeah, so it was just out of the want of directing something, of writing something, of putting something on film. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, it was just an idea I had, wrote it out. I kept it very small, very contained, one room, one sort of maybe two actors in it.
Yeah.
And we did talk to the DP that we worked on for 89, Chris, and we said, you
Hmm.
know what, we're interested in filming this. Probably take a day or two. Would you want to do it? And it just kind of went from there. We found an art gallery that was actually shutting down.
Oh,
Yeah, so right before they
a little
shut
bit
down,
of
we filmed
business
it.
before they go. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they're gone. They're long gone. But yeah, I know. It was like a little bit of business right before
Wow.
they shut down. They're like, yeah, sure, we'll have you in here.
Oh, that's
This is what
nice.
the daily rate is. But no, they were really
Yeah.
nice, and
Nice.
they let us film there for the day. And it was really just a chance to get a little bit of experience, get our feet wet with it, and see if it was something I enjoyed. Very
Mm,
limited. Again, it was one day of work, but I really liked it. It was interesting. It was um, it was a way to kind of express myself and some of my thoughts, and
mm,
yeah, I'm proud of it. I think we told a nice little story in a small little time frame,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, tell me,
Um.
Adam, from your perspective, how was that film?
Honestly, it was a lot of fun, and it was a challenge because I had no dialogue in it except for
Yes.
like, a scream.
Mhm.
So I think it was a chance for me. And again, not that I did so many other things before that, but it was a chance for me to do something like I thought. Okay, well, wow. Okay, out of the little few things I had before, I had dialogue, and this was the first thing I didn't. Right. So
Mm.
yeah, so that was fun, and it was also nice to do it alongside my fiance Francesca. She
Oh
played the
yeah.
waitress
Oh
in the back,
yeah.
walking with the
Okay.
tray.
And she's also in All Is Fine in '89, if I'm correct,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, she plays
I
Debbie.
saw her.
Yeah, my love
Cool.
interest, which was actually really cool too. So, yeah, and then
Mm.
honestly, and it was good because I don't know, just the overall vibe of what we were trying to go for. Again, it was a really small, little short film, but it
Yes.
was nice that we yeah, as Matt said, we kind of got our feet wet. We tried something together for the first time. That was our first ever trying to make a film of any sorts, right?
Mm.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Because not to give anything away for anybody who wants to go see it. It's a film about a guy who goes into an art gallery and has an experience when seeing a painting.
Yeah.
Yes.
No spoilers in that. That's pretty good synopsis, I think.
That was a very
Um,
good synopsis.
but yes, it is the type of film where the director's challenge is to really tell a story without the words. And
Exactly.
for you as an actor, Adam, I felt like your challenge was probably emotional access. So tell me how, Matt, was the music kind of a big influence when it came to telling the story without words? And Adam, follow up after that will be how did you get there? So let's start with Matt
Yeah.
with that question on the filmmaking part of it.
Yeah. So I think what I've always been interested in, and we kind of had the same philosophy with 89, is I'm always interested in when people talk, like even now, like
Mhm.
we're gonna tell you what we want out in the world, right? What we want people to know about us. But what we're
Mhm.
really feeling, what we're really thinking, who knows, right? And I think what I've always found interesting is less the dialogue and less the verbal. That there's a
Yes.
place and a time for great dialogue and great verbal interactions and words on the page, and I love that. And there's so many great movies and things and TV shows where great dialogue just elevates it to
Yeah.
another level. But what is also interesting to me is what's not said, right? Is
Yes.
the stuff that we're really feeling, the little eye movements, head
Yeah.
movements, just the facial expressions, and trying to get deep with that. So with this, especially considering we didn't want to make a long short film. We wanted
Mhm.
something that we could shoot in a day or two, something that wasn't expensive to shoot. I thought, you know what? Let's get rid of dialogue. We don't need it. We could tell this story
Mm.
and have this sort of arc for this character without any words. So
Mm.
that's where it came from. In terms of the music, yeah, that was definitely essential for it, because the music's right there telling the same story that we're trying to tell. So it
Yes.
definitely enhances it and elevates it to what we're trying to do. So yeah, absolutely. I think for me it was a need to show and not have Adam's character tell us how he feels. It's just let's show it,
Yeah.
let's see it, right? And it also kind of gives the viewer and the audience an opportunity to come to their own conclusions with it. I think it's fairly
Mm.
obvious by the end what's going on, but maybe people have different interpretations and different personal experiences that they draw from, and I find that interesting as well, right? So
Mhm. Yeah, cool. And Adam, tell me about the acting challenge of that. Had you already studied acting a little bit during that time? Because as you said, you'd done a few at this point under your belt. What did you use to get into this film?
Uh, yeah, I had very like I didn't have much training, to be honest.
Hmm.
Like during COVID, just because again, like a lot of it was virtual. So I did
Yeah.
like obviously like acting classes with like private coaches, and then I did
Okay.
a couple courses with Second City that they had virtually as
Right.
well. That was a lot of
Nice.
fun too.
That must have
But
been fun.
that was a lot. That was more just for comedy and stuff. I did some voice acting lessons as well with a coach.
Nice.
Susan Hart, I believe is her name. Could be missing, but
Nice.
she was great. Yeah, that was a great time. And especially for the Joshua painting, because my main thing was like, how am I gonna like show this reaction while like it was a little foreign to me. Like, how am I gonna like get to that place, right? So a lot
Mm.
of it came from like obviously again my brother, not to be biased, but he did a good job with like just the way it was written and the way he directed, the way he I
he's
think
following the script. He's following the script right now.
yeah, but
Reading it off the teleprompter.
Perfect.
it was fun just to like because again we were in an art gallery and we had I forgot how many paintings we had up.
Yeah.
Were they already there in the first place? Or I forgot if we
There
put
were
them
a
up.
few still, yeah, there are many still left up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Right.
think the way I approached it was like it was I walked into a place, a building, and then as the character, it was like I'm supposed to be like alone, right? And
Yes.
there's this silence, this ambiance, and every painting tells a story, right?
Yeah.
And again, as Matt said, like without words, it can just you
Yes.
can tell a great story, right? But
Yeah.
paintings do the same thing. So as I was walking, if you notice in the short film, I'm like, I quickly stare for a
Yes.
couple of seconds. I go to the next one, and then I get to the main one.
Yeah.
But before I got to the main one, I almost tried to like look at these paintings and try to find something that like maybe would hit home a bit or like would get me a little bit like, oh, that like I feel that like. And then when I got to the main one, it's like almost everything kind of culminated, and then like
Yeah.
that's when I really was like, whoa, like this is like it's hitting me, like I feel this, right? And it's like again,
Yeah.
people could come to their own conclusion at the end of it when they watch, but like that I wanted to like get really to feel feel a certain way when looking at that, but I had to get there. I didn't just want to get to that paint and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it just hits because that does like
Yeah.
I didn't know if I could even do that, so I had to kind of build it up slowly and like work it up, look at something like, oh, that, yeah, okay, and then get to that place. So yeah.
You know what? That's so cool because it's reminding me of my theater school experience. I had this one teacher who is probably the best teacher I've ever had in my entire life. His name is Fred Ward. Many in Montreal, the Montreal acting community will know him. But he gave this exercise where literally we would do exactly that. We would go out to art galleries, look at a piece of art, and until it starts to speak to us
Oh wow.
and have a silent dialogue with it.
Mm.
And I cannot, I don't know how to put to words what I learned from that, but I know it made me a better person, a better artist, a better human being. And it's so cool that that's what ended up being your film, and even your process, that it was intuitive. You were like, I have to build that. But I'm curious too, because it does build chronologically in the film, but how did you then make the chronology work for you as an actor and also as a filmmaker in terms of the schedule? Did you guys shoot chronologically so Adam could build into that moment?
I'm
Or
pretty sure we did, yeah.
yes,
I
Yeah.
think we
okay.
did.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
That's a
did.
luxury that sometimes actors don't have. Maybe they do the first, like the last scene first or that. So I was curious. It's cool that you were able to respect that chronology to give Adam, the opportunity to really build that, like you were saying, Adam. So that's super
Yeah.
cool that you did it
Well,
that
actually,
way.
it's good that you brought that up too, because even with 89, it was the same thing. Like, I mean,
Oh, cool.
it wasn't like, no, it wasn't chronological in that sense. Like, but
Uh-huh.
I remember my first day of shooting was the first scene that you see with me on the field with
Oh,
Linda.
cool. That's nice.
And then, yeah, like, and then like obviously the ending scene, we shot it more in the middle of the schedule. But it is you're right. It's a luxury, right? Because
yes.
there could be times when, and I never got to experience this,
Yeah.
because I never had a really big role in a feature film besides this.
Not yet.
Not yet. But hopefully,
by the time this is released.
and
The next Spider-Man.
Yes,
Could you
why
imagine?
not? I know it's on your bucket list, my friend. Just
A
from what I've
superhero of some
researched, I
sort.
know
It's
you're
like I
there.
have to be a superhero of some sort.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like I never was like it was great to do that, because if I had to start with that ending scene or something that's like a little more emotional,
Mm-hmm.
it would be a lot harder to get to that place, especially without much context before. I think I forgot who's there was an actor who talked about this. Who was it? I forgot who it was. Oh, Gary Oldman talked about this in for Harry Potter.
Okay.
I forgot. I think they're filming the fifth film.
Order of the
I
Phoenix?
forgot. Anyways,
No.
I forgot the thing, but he was basically implying that like they did the more emotional stuff first, and then
Yes.
they went backwards, and then he was talking like, oh, if I had known this, then I would have done things differently.
Yes.
So, but I feel like every actor kind of does that, right? I feel like we're always our worst critic, and sometimes, yeah, you kind of just have to work with the material you're given with.
Yeah, well, I think what I've learned when I do a film that's out of chronology or that kind of thing, I think what's important is when you show up on set is to give it your all. You know what I mean? Like to not hold any of your intuition back, even if the choice might be maybe a little too far, too much, or like this is like really deviating from the script. Like just do the thing so that, like you said, 5 weeks down the road when you're doing the thing before, you're like, oh, thank God I did that because I can now do this and this, as
Yeah.
opposed to, oh, damn, I didn't do enough choices or make that choice that I really loved. And then I have to sort of play within the realm of what I established at that scene. I also know, like for a movie that's coming out for me, Souls Road in February, in theaters in Canada. Um,
Amazing.
one of the leads, thank you. One of the leads in the film, Camille Stops, who actually I interviewed for this podcast as well. She had her first day was her last scene, and it's like
Oh,
the whole film is like kind of like it charts like a kind of a redemption story and a love story at the same time. So she played the climax of a love story as her first scene, which is cool because then where she starts, her character starts like kind of heartbroken. And so what was cool for her, and she talked about it in a Q&A, was that she she felt love for that person that she has to fall in love with. So then her coming back to those scenes where she has to be hardened, she knows what she's lost.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It's like somehow like it's like sometimes like seeing the gift in whatever process you're given, I think will always be helpful. And like you said, like it's learning to become friends with your critic and see like, oh, well, thank you for that like critique there. How can I make this useful? What can
yeah.
I learn from that? So
And,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say, yeah, like, and I think at the end of the day too, like what I'm for like the next project I do, if I have to do like the last scene first, I think as long as you just know your character inside and out, I feel like it's just gonna be like I know for 89, like not that I'm some method actor, but the moment that I heard action, it's like I became that character. It's like I just
Yeah.
snapped. It's like I completely like
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, like not to do my own right. I sound probably really bad saying this,
No,
but I'm very happy with my performance in this film. Usually
I would
everything
be
else
too.
I've done, not thank you, not that I've done a number of things, but out of all the things I've done, this is the one where I watch. I can actually watch it and not be like, I should have done this, should have done that. Like
Yeah.
I watch and I go, I'm happy with everything because I really put my all in this, and because I'm grateful to my
Yeah.
brother for even like doing this, like for writing a great script, for directing, like just having that opportunity because it wouldn't have happened
Or
without
even
him. I wanted to make him proud, right?
no,
So
but
Aw.
even you touched upon like playing it maybe even different ways. Like what we tried to do, and we were a little limited in terms of budget and production schedule, but you
Yeah.
always want the actors to play it a different way sometimes, to have some options,
Nice.
right? And we saw that in post production a lot. Like Adam and I were part of the editing process, like every scene, every second of this film. And it's always interesting to get different takes and
Yeah.
um different interpretations of even the littlest dialogue or interactions in the movie, and try to pick the one that fits best in the particular story, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
I found that in auditions too. Like, so I wrote the
Mm.
script, and for example, there's the Cole character. We had so many people audition, thankfully for that character. We ended up going with Tom Keaton. He's amazing, and he played it the way I wrote it. But we had a couple
Mm.
actors who auditioned who played it differently, and it made me think too as a writer, like maybe we take the character in this direction or that direction. So actors and acting, I gained a whole new appreciation for them because you guys can change the story. You can impact the story
Mm.
beyond what's on the page and elevate it and take it to different places, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
it's a collaborative thing, right? That's the
absolutely.
one
Mm.
filmmaking. Like that's what I've learned even through this process. Like we weren't the type of people on set to be very like, oh, it's gotta be like this. Like I know Matt. Like there's sometimes where I would even kind of tell him like, like if you have like your own vision, just stay, it's okay to stick with it. You don't have to be like, he's like, no. He's like, I want to hear
Oh,
different
yeah.
people's inputs and stuff, and it's important to have that
Yeah,
because, as Matt said, you can find someone can bring something to the table that you go, oh shit, you know what, that actually works really well. It'll
yeah, you have
complement.
to leave the ego out of it, 100%.
I'd
And it's a collaborative process. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to say I saw that on the screen from everybody. And I thought that that was one of the greatest strengths of your film is it felt everyone from, Adam to the extras smoking on the bleachers or something like that. Everybody it felt like they had the freedom to play, to make choices, to bring themselves to it. So it gave like a super realism to the whole piece, which is really, I think, one of the strengths of it because it's like it starts off in a place that you're like, oh, this is gonna be like kind of funny, nostalgic movie,
Yeah,
kind of Breakfast Club, like happy ending, probably. Like I'm expecting that. Plus the title's all is fine,
yeah,
but slowly but surely it gets very real. Like you think, oh, maybe it's gonna be like some kind of super bad too, because like
sure.
the commercials at the start are hilarious. Like there's a AIDS joke which really works really well.
Yeah.
Like
I know. We
in the
debated
only
that
way
one.
that it could, but it's like
Yeah.
there's so many good sort of jokes and comedy, and we fall in love with each and every character because it is an ensemble film where you can't really be like that's the main character of this film. But I was shocked too, Adam, and I have to say too, like after having watched your channel and then seeing you in All Is Fine, I was like, where's Adam? Oh my god, that's him. And so I thought the casting was really great. Everybody felt believable. Everyone felt like they had that creative freedom to just be whatever they were going to be, to bring a three-dimensional humanity to each of these kinds of archetypes in a
Yeah.
really cool and interesting way, which I felt like was probably the intention. And yeah, I just love to know maybe what were your favorite parts, each of you, of doing this process, and what were like the major lessons? Like,
Well,
let's start with Matt on that.
yeah, like I want to touch upon too, like you mentioned the archetypes, right? And I'm
Mm,
so happy you mentioned that, and we've gotten a lot of feedback on that. And I'm happy when people understand what we were going for. So we were going
yeah.
for those archetypes, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, some people that didn't really understand the film or even like the film, they would be like, well, some of the characters are stereotypical, and this and that. And it's like, well, that was the intention. We
Yes.
wanted to portray those archetypes and kind
Yeah.
of bring a humanity to them
Yeah.
and tell their stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate that you got that and got that from the film. So, but in terms of, I think your question. Sorry, I I went off on a
Yeah.
bit of
Yeah.
what
Your
I
major
appreciated from the film.
lessons and your
Oh,
major sort of like
absolutely.
favorite experiences of it.
Yeah, the biggest thing was just learning from everyone on set, right?
Mm,
And I'm not just saying that, like the cast taught me so much, the crew taught me so much. This was my first feature, Adam's first
yeah.
feature, and we came in with that mentality. I think, we came in with the mentality that, we need to be, um, uh, we need to have a vision. We need to stay on track. We need, make sure this runs smoothly. But at the same time, it's, we need to collaborate with others. We need to learn from other people, people that have ideas. And if their idea is different than ours and it works out better for the film, let's go with that. Right.
Mm,
Learning what it takes to be a leader on set is not, calling the shots, at least in my opinion. It's learning from people and figuring out what the best shot is, right? What the best
mm,
direction is. Even as a director, I worked intently with Chris Capuzzo. He's phenomenal. A lot of those shots in the film are shots that, he thought were best, and we rolled with that. And I'm happy we did because I think it made the film
mm,
better. Even some of the character directions in the scenes, even some of the decisions that some of the characters make, we had dialogue, we had back and forth. I mentioned Tom, who plays Cole. There
mm,
are a couple. I'm not going to spoil it. There are a couple scenes near the end where he had some ideas and he brought some ideas to the table, and we listened and we had a dialogue and we discussed. And I think what that does is, like you mentioned as well, like it makes people feel like they're part of this production because they are. And
mm-hmm.
I think we learned a lot from that. And, going in, I didn't even know really, you know, like, what does a director exactly do? And it's, well, director does a little bit of everything. He learns from everybody and he just brings it all together into one vision. And I
Mm.
learned a lot in that regard. And I think Adam did too as a producer. You know, we learned so much and we're really proud of that. I think that was our biggest achievement with this.
Love that. Very
Yeah.
cool. Adam?
Yeah, my so some of my favorite memories are the school scenes and like shooting there.
Mhm.
Every day there just felt like a party almost. Like literally, I remember walking in. It'd be early. We would get there what like 6:30, 7 o'clock, right? Like and it's and you walk in and you go to the cafeteria area. We had like our craft set up. We had like it was funny. Well, Mateo, who was our he was our well he helped edit the film, and he was
First
also I think
AD.
our first AC, right?
Yeah, AC, yeah.
Sorry, I get so confused with the term sometimes. But yeah, he would come on his hoverboard. I remember at the school, and then I remember I'd be like, oh, can I try that sometimes? And I would go around the school, just cruise while everyone's like just kind of set up, and just kind of clear my head, just to make I'm in character, just to start the day right, and like just go around. It was just fun. Like, everyone was always in a good mood, right? You'd go where like the hair and makeup is, the wardrobe. It's like it just felt very a lively environment, right? And maybe that's because we also did, it was an '80s film, so again, like the wardrobe was the fun wardrobe. Everyone came in dressed, like, even the extras, like they came in with their cool looks, and it just felt like wow, like we're actually doing this right now. We're making a movie, and that was one of my like my most fond memories doing that. Sorry, my fondest memories doing that. And then some of the
Mm.
things I learned through this film is the same thing what Matt said, right? Like learning off other people, and like just I think also the main thing I took away from that is like how intense making a film really is, right? We shot this
Mm.
film in what 20 days or just
Yeah,
under 20.
19 days. Yeah, 19 days.
Yeah, and it's like
Damn.
that's a really hard thing to do, right?
Yep.
We could have extended it, right? But obviously, with budget, it's hard to obviously if everyone had the luxury of shooting for a couple months,
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry to
you
interrupt.
know,
That's the biggest last tip. We needed more days.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like, but I guess the takeaway from that is the challenge of doing it in a short amount of time
Mhm.
and what
Hmm.
we're able to accomplish in that time. It goes to show not just for my brother and I, but yeah, like the cast, the crew, everyone came prepared, right? Like even the
Yeah.
cast, like I was very surprised at it too because even for like for example, the character Linda, played by Danny Romero, who did such a
Hmm.
great job. She had some of the most emotional scenes in this film, but
Mm.
she came prepared. Like I remember she was already like she knew what to do, and we were like, at first we're like, okay, this is gonna be a little more of a hard, it's an emotional scene. Maybe we'll take a little more time for her to do it, but she got there, and we were
And
like
Wow.
really impressed, you know?
Danny brought a lot of her ideas to the character as well. There was some
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
changes we made to her character and some of the dialogue and stuff like that, which I think brought the film to another level as well. Stuff that really she understood the character. She said, for this scene, what if my character says this or does this instead? Because I feel that she would do this. As Linda, this is what Linda would do. And I thought about it, I processed it, and I said, you know what, you're right. Like that, some of these things do make sense and do elevate the film and the characters. So it's just always collaborative. And I think as artists, any artist would tell you that's the joy of being an artist, right? Um,
Mm.
at least it is for me. Like writing it is a lonely process. It's just solitude. It's just you and the words on the page and the laptop in front of you. And I think being with other people and working and creating together, I think to me, and I think Adam can attest to it too, that was the biggest joy of making this was
Mm.
we're doing this together. We're all creating this, right? So that was very exciting to me.
but that goes to show like indie filmmaking, right? Because I bet any money, and not to shame big studio films, but I don't think they have that luxury sometimes because especially with like a director, right? He may say, "Okay, guys, like I appreciate your ideas, but the studio wants it like this, or they want it like
Mhm.
that." It's not like it's the execs, it's everybody. It's more people involved, right?
Yep.
So I'm grateful that we had control over this film,
Mm.
but with that control, we were able to diversify that too, right? Like saying, okay,
Yeah.
we have control, it's our movie, but yeah, now that we have control, we can hear your ideas. We can bring
Yeah.
things to the table. We could try to explore different ideas. I feel like if we were with a studio, it wouldn't have been like that. It would be like, well,
Mm,
guys, this is what they want, right? And
mm,
you don't have as much freedom. I know, like, there's a funny thing. Like, I always hear about like Clint Eastwood, for example. He does things
mhm.
like in one take,
Yep.
or he wants like, or for example, Tarantino. He wants, oh, it has to be as written. I don't want any. And listen, there's a place for that, right?
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, again, both of those individuals make phenomenal movies. So you know, at the end of the day, you got to work with what you're
Every
given.
yeah, and everyone has their own process, right?
Yeah, exactly, right.
I
Not
think
to say
we felt
one's
like
better than
this
the other.
worked for us, and I think it did, and it brought us joy, and I think it helped the actors on set and the crew on set, and but everyone has their own processes.
Mm.
And yeah, this was what we found joy out of. I think just the collaboration aspect. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you brought like the dynamic that the two of you have naturally that's just developed over the years, and now the two of you are leaving your dreams of being artists in such a cool and new way, like, and I love that, coming together to give each other this first big feature experience, I think is an amazing thing. I think one of the things I tell artists to do to get started is bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Make your thing, make your own thing, because nobody in the industry will just like give it to you. You know what I mean? Like this Hollywood myth of being discovered is it's just not real, and it sounds great, it looks great, sells paper, it gets a lot of views, and people, it's like way nicer to believe that you just get discovered. But I think what's way more empowering is knowing that you believed in yourself and were able to make your dreams move forward, and then collaborate too, like find your people along the way that want to rise with you. So I think it's really cool that you not only are rising together but are inviting others to be a part of that growth. And I'm so curious to know, maybe too, as to why 89, why this film, what was the inspiration for maybe the two of you, maybe Matt the story and Adam your character. And I'd love to like just peek behind the curtain as to why you chose this story or why it chose you.
Yeah.
Start
Well,
with
I
Matt.
I had written a couple scripts before 89. We were actually, I don't want to call it like pre-production, but we were planning to do another film before
Oh
we
wow.
decided on 89. And it was a little bit more, it was a drama, but it had a lot of like fantasy elements, which
Mm.
would have cost a lot more.
Yep.
Um,
True.
and I'm
Very
very
true.
happy we didn't go that route because it would have been very difficult in post-production to make it work and make it work well. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we had discussed, I think Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we discussed it with Chris as well, our DP, and he was actually involved in the process very early on because we did do the short film with him. Um, and so we had talked about that, and then I had 89 as a script already done, and I was really happy with it. And in terms of where that came from, the 89 idea and the year itself, obviously, I think just on a very surface level, it's the year I was born. But beyond all that, I think it's a very pivotal year. More so, I guess, for the United States, even for Canada a little bit, in the sense where, the Cold War was going on. There's always this threat of nuclear war. And,
Mm-hmm.
the Reagan years of the 80s, which Reagan kind of populated the whole 80s, he kind of dominated that whole decade. It was a decade of exuberance, of bright colors, of spending, of, Wall Street was booming, and,
Yeah.
be proud of being an American, and be proud of your country, and, just
Mm-hmm.
that bravado and that patriotism, and even
Mm-hmm.
media itself, I think, which was a huge impact on especially our line of thinking of what the 80s were. Media itself was like, the Hulk Hogan's of the time. You had the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sly Stallone's. You had, everything was just like machismo. It was
Mm-hmm.
MTV. It was that kind
Mm-hmm.
of pop very vibe, right? And then
Yeah.
from the 80s, we shifted to the 90s where we head into the Bush years where it's like, okay, now people are starting to pay attention to a little bit of what's going on um,
Mm-hmm.
politically, and music's starting to change. Nirvana's starting to kind of rise, Pearl Jam, and grunge is starting to really speak to a lot of people, and we're getting away from the bright colors, and media is starting to change, and
Yeah.
people are starting to change. The zeitgeist is starting to change. Culture's starting to change. So my curiosity was like, okay, we're going from the 80s to the 90s. What really shifted that change? And to me, it
Mm.
always felt like America was going through its, fun adolescence, childhood
Yeah.
80s to now we're adults now in the 90s. We're
Yeah.
maturing. And I thought, it would be interesting to kind of tell that story and explore those themes through these high school kids, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
last field party, it's November 1989. It's the last field party that they're going to have of the 80s. And I think that
Mm.
that meant something to them. They're seniors, they're going to
Yeah.
graduate. Even the small details, like it's November 89 is when the Berlin Wall came down. It's like
Yeah.
in the States, you're going from the fall to the winter. There's a certain symbolism with that in my mind, right?
Yeah.
You're going from
Absolutely.
seniors to adults. You're going from teenagers to adults. And I thought, okay, you know what? Let's tell that story. And big inspiration for me in telling that story and how I structured it was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Adam and I
Mm.
both love that movie. Um, and someone actually brought it up in an interview recently. They're like, Fast Times like little vignettes, very like
Mm.
you see little snippets of these characters' lives. And I'm like, I like
Yeah.
that. That's what I kind of want to tell my story as. It's just little snippets. We see Mark and Debbie. We see Cole and his family. We see Linda and her dad. And it's like we're putting all these puzzle pieces together to tell this story. And it all
Mm-hmm.
kind of culminates at the end. So, um, yeah. And then, sorry, going back to, you know, coming to the idea of filming this script in particular, it to us it was filmable. It was something we could film. I think,
Yeah.
looking at Adam, at that time, Adam, how old were you? 24?
2020. Yeah, I was 24 because it was 2023
24.
we shot.
But
Yeah.
but also very young looking 24. I think Adam was probably the oldest one on
Yeah.
set. And I thought, you
Oh
know what?
wow.
If I'm ever gonna tell this
Well, for the
story,
crew, based on the crew, right? But the
Right.
actors, I think we're all around the same age, I believe. I think
yeah, more or
Yeah.
less.
Dylan, who played Dean, he was the youngest actor, I believe. I
Yeah.
could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it
Dylan
was
Hocko, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dylan Hawkle, yeah. And so it was really like, if we're gonna make this movie, especially with Adam as one of the actors, it's like we got to do this now. Otherwise, I can't do it
Mm.
10 years from now. Otherwise, he might have played maybe Mr. Parker, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Right. Right. Right.
yeah, but besides that, it was like it just felt right. We knew it was not a ton of locations, and it didn't turn out to be a
Yeah.
ton of locations. So it just logistically made sense to film it, and it was also, I think it was just a story that spoke to me as well, and I really wanted to tell it and put it up there. So
I love that. That's so cool. So cool. Tell me,
thank
Adam, what was your why when joining into this project?
Honestly, as soon as my brother said, I wish I had like a cool like grand story about it. But as soon as he's like, "Hey, I have a good script," I'm like, "Yeah, let me see it." Right? And when I read it, I thought it was great. Like I wanted
Nice.
to do it, and obviously, yeah, like I was lucky he, rolled me into it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "This is your character," and yeah, what I love most about my character is the fact that he has that innocence with him, and I feel like not that I I relate to the character Mark, but I'm nothing really like him. But like I relate to him in the sense where I grew up, and same with Matt. We grew up very fortunate to be, again in a good home, good
Mm-hmm.
family, just surrounded by like we it wasn't like we I don't know how to explain it really. Like we were very fortunate to be in a good environment, right?
Yeah.
And that's how Mark was, and as all these things are going on with the Berlin Wall being torn down and all this change happening, Mark is really in his own. Again, he's very naive. He's in his own world. Like, oh, everything's
Mm.
great. Like, yeah, it's gonna be great forever because I'm Mark. Like that, and he just that's how he was raised, right? But things happen, and all these characters go through their stuff, their own challenges, and I think for Mark too, uh, as time goes on, it is gonna open his eyes to how the world really is, and it's not all
Mm.
just like as Stallone would say, sunshine and rainbows, right? Like it is. There's something below the surface.
Mm. There's also, yeah, to speak of below the surface, from what I saw without spoiling anything, um, it's like Mark is struggling to take action, whether it
Mhm.
be in his relationships, in his life. He's sort of like letting himself be swayed, and it forces him to this like choke point where he chooses something that's irrevocable and shows him a side that he didn't want to see. And
Yeah.
so it seems like, each of the characters kind of culminate into that moment
Yeah.
and are irreversibly changed by it. And like you said, Matt, we see these characters in the spring, summer, fall, and then by the end, I feel they're all in the winter of their life.
Yeah.
In sometimes like a good way. I thought what was cool was like, although they might be in a winter in their life, there is still the
Yeah.
hope that spring can come again
Hmm.
in each of every one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe not one.
No spoilers.
But
No spoilers.
hey, I really was just blessed to get you guys to reach out to me and have this chat, but also to finally get to see your work and become conscious of you, because you two are on to big things. I know, because I just see it in the both of you and the way you guys collaborate and invite other people to be a part of it. I can tell there's big things coming from the both of you. So I'm curious, with the remaining time we have, I'd love to know maybe just quickly as to what excites you most about the future, and what are you doing right now that you feel is pushing you towards that future that you want? Let's start with Matt.
Yeah. No, well, thank you for those kind words. I think we even see that in you as well. And you've made us feel so
Thanks, man.
comfortable, and even your interpretations of not only the film but of us and then the process and the acting in general. I think, you have a bright future as well, right? So,
Thanks,
and I
bro.
think, speaking to that too, having these interviews, we love doing it. I love doing it because, as once we had this film done and it's out there, there's always that feeling of, will people like it? Will people connect with it? Will people understand it? It's like, you're putting it out into the world. Now you have no control, right? So to
Mm,
hear people speak positively about it, and to give their thoughts, their interpretations, even if it isn't positive sometimes, and it's just, an
mhm,
interpretation and their reading of the film, I always get motivated by that. It's like, wow, people are, they're watching our stuff. Like, that's exciting. That's they're being a part of our art, and I think that
mhm,
to me is motivating, and it makes me want to do more, and it makes me want to create more, and be back on set, and create another film, and or another project, whatever that may be. In terms of what I'm doing now, um, we have a couple ideas. Like, we'd like to film another one. Probably not this year, maybe that by the end of this year, or
mhm.
early next year. We
Nice.
do have a concept we're trying to work on. Um, I have a bit of writer's block, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to.
I can relate.
Yeah, and you know what? I
Yep.
also have a lot of fears too. Like, I think
Yeah.
AI scares me, if I'm being honest.
Mm,
I think it's gonna be a big disruptor if it
mm,
already hasn't been a big disruptor. Um, I think uh, yeah, I think that's a bit of a fear, and even a fear of getting the film funded, and getting the proper resources to do it. It was very difficult on the first one, and I think it's probably even more difficult now. Streamers have changed the entire landscape of film and
mm,
distribution. It looks totally different than what it was, even
mhm.
3-4 years ago when we first started this.
Yep.
Um, so we got very fortunate. Um, I'll even say lucky in some cases to find distribution, and to get our film out there. So there's always that fear, are we going to get fortunate and lucky on the next one if we do it, right? So, there's all those things going on in my head, but then I'm also reminded, like with interviews like this, it's like, there are people that do appreciate, um, art, and there are people that are creating. There are people that want to be in this industry and have a passion and a love for it, and I think that fuels me and that motivates me. So um, we're hoping, and I'm hoping that we can develop another one and get it out there, and maybe even work together. You know, that would be great,
Yeah, heck
right?
yeah. Yeah, I got the long hair if you guys do a period piece, but I could cut this off if necessary,
That's
man.
it.
Yo, that's so cool. No, I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear you talk about AI too. I think it's scary times naturally, just because of society and television, and it also relates to all this fine in '89 of like over like, we're in an age of information, and what tends to sell is a lot of fear. So
Yeah,
but I
overwhelming.
like that you balance that, and also really are seeing that you were lucky, you were blessed in that kind of, you know putting the thing out there, and suddenly things align. So I think, my encouragement would be to keep doing what you're doing, because it's going to work,
But
and like you said, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to appeal to everybody. And
yeah,
in fact, good art, I think, does polarize, especially this kind of a film, I think will leave you polarized, because you're like, whoa, like this is
yeah,
not like what I expected, because it's not like anything out there. It does get inspirations from different places, but I have never seen an '80s film like that. So very,
appreciate that.
very good job on that.
Thank you.
So Adam, tell me about you. What are you doing now to bring about this beautiful future that you know can be?
Well, my goal is to become an actor, right? But as you know, I have my podcast, and knock on wood, I've been doing pretty good with it.
Uh-huh. Yes,
And I don't know. So
absolutely.
Mike, thank you. I don't know. I feel like at this point my career could go either one or two ways. I could either be
Uh-huh.
a working actor, or hopefully one day, a big actor, and
Yeah.
make lots of money doing that and enjoying what I do as that's my passion.
Yeah.
Or I'd be like a journalist, and that could be my job where I make money on it, and that's my career. So it could go either way.
Uh-huh.
What I'm doing to try to achieve those dreams is, like, again, I'm auditioning all the time, as I'm sure you were too.
Yes.
Trying to take classes where I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with the podcast stuff. I'm just hustling, trying to get people on.
Yeah.
Working with the studios and stuff, trying to, like, get on the press junkets and, like, make connections. But what I'm trying to do too with every person I interview, kind of like how you do, and as Matt said, like, and I agree, you make us feel really comfortable, and I try to do that with my
Mm.
guests as well.
Mhm.
And my goal is, hopefully one day, if I make good connections with them, genuine connections,
Yeah.
what if one day they want to work with us on a film? What if they go, Adam, you know what? I really like you. I actually can help you with your next. I don't know,
Yeah.
like, what I'm trying to say. Like, there's always
Yeah.
things like that.
We've had
And
people you've interviewed want to watch our film and stuff like that as well, right? So
yeah, right.
Nice.
Like, I always bring up.
Got Gene Simmons to watch all this fine in
Hey,
'89.
I don't know about that one, man.
I don't know. I gotta try to get him to watch. I don't know. He's a funny one. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to read sometimes. Like, should I send it? Like, should I say
Yeah,
something
yeah,
about
yeah,
it?
yeah. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I've tried to send as many people as I can, and
It's
get
great,
feedback,
man.
and build those connections. So, and again, maybe this is the mark
You
in me
talked to
talking.
no, this is great. I love it. Yeah, and also, sorry, before
Yeah.
yeah, we'll hear about what Mark has to say about this. But John Reardon. I worked with John Reardon. John, like, you guys saw you had him on your podcast.
Wait,
The star,
where did you
what
work on Hudson and
the
Rex?
detective Hudson and Rex. Yeah, I worked with on Hudson and Rex. Yeah,
No
Amazing.
way.
and I'm so glad you had him on, because he is one of the most interesting human beings in the craft of acting. And he did kill it in White Chicks too. And it's so funny because when I worked on it, I was like, man, this guy's so familiar. Like, I like him already. Like, and I was like, man, why do I like him so much? And then after the show had wrapped, I went back home and I was like, why did I like John so much? And I was like, oh my God, White Chicks is like one of my favorite
Yeah.
comedies of all time. And I was
Yeah.
like, he's the guy. He's like the bad guy in that.
He's
And
the
he
bad guy,
plays like,
yeah.
he's such a good guy. And his story too, I'm sure you got a little bit of it, but just that's the kind of guy who bet on himself too. I don't know if you knew,
Mhm.
but like him, he made a short film about being a detective, and it had something to do with the dogs, and all of a sudden he got Hudson and Rex, you know? So I just, I love that you interview people and you do have that barber's touch of like making people feel comfortable. So to me, before you let me know about what Mark would say, I do have to say, you are an actor, bro. You are doing the right steps. If anything, you're 20,000 steps or you're 14,000 subscribers ahead of, you know, so many of the actors. And I'd say, you know, my advice to you as someone who shouldn't give any advice because what the hell do I
No, you
know?
should. No, you
But
shouldn't say that. You should.
but
'Cause
you know what I
everyone
mean?
has
Like
something to say.
take what you need from this. But bro, you are an actor. You are doing the right things. And I think it's up to you to choose what path you will carve. And I don't think anybody's path needs to be like, what does the industry want from me? Like, you could be like Conan O'Brien, like who has a talk show and does acting, you know, or James Corden, or not do any of the podcasts one day. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want. Like, I'm just excited to see you grow and change. And, you know, from seeing your first, you know, Q&A with your girlfriend on your channel to who you are today and having this chat with you guys, I'm like, I can't wait to see what you will become. But please, sorry for interrupting. What was Mark going to say about who you are and what you'll become?
Well, I was gonna say like you actually kind of touched on it a bit. Is
Yeah.
that like maybe I'm just very optimistic about it, like how Mark like how the character Mark is, but
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I know Matt sometimes will talk about like, you know, the fear of AI or this that like how the industry changes, but for me, I feel like there are things that are happening in the industry that can make it harder for people. But again, it's I think what separates the people who are eventually gonna prevail is the people who give up and don't give up, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I won't ever give up because
No.
that's not in my nature.
Yeah.
I know maybe people can argue, oh, but you quit barbering. And it's like, here's the thing though. I look at that as a transition, right? I don't look at
see
like
that
I
too.
quit and
You
that's,
still got
you
the
know,
barber's touch right now.
yeah, and that was a choice that like it wasn't because I gave up because let's say
No.
I wasn't busy as a barber. It's like, oh, I'm not
Yeah.
busy. I'm gonna quit.
No, you were busy.
I was busy. I've already achieved what I wanted. It's like I'm content. But I want just I want something different out of my life,
Love
right?
that.
And even with the podcast and the acting, even with the podcast, especially when I first started, for example, like I remember my first like bigger guest, I guess you could say, was the guy from Breaking Bad. He played Skinny Pete.
Yeah, Skinny Pete. Yeah, I saw you got Skinny Pete.
Yeah, and he was my first. I remember he was the first
What the
guy
heck?
where
He was
it was
like your
like,
big get. You were like, my
I
God, this
was
guy wants to
freaking
talk
out.
to me.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I can't believe. And it's like, and then I would think like, imagine one day I could get like, you know, other people like that are, let's say like A-listers or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
even I had that doubt too. Like, okay, I mean, I won't get to that point, but if I can interview some cool people, that'd be awesome. And it's like to see myself slowly get to where I want to be. I hope people just look at that as a reminder that, listen, it didn't come overnight. I've been doing it since 2020, so it's been 6 years now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come easy. I know if looking back, I probably could have done things that would maybe shorten that time. But again, I did everything on my own. I built my own connections. It wasn't like I had some mentor that was like, oh, I'm gonna introduce you to this person. I did it on my own, right? Like in terms of like who to find, what, and to go about that. So, yeah, and I just feel like, yeah, you're right. You have to kind of carve your own path and not quit. I know it's so easy to say that, but that's my only thing. Yeah.
So that's what you're doing now. What are the dreams that will come to be? What are we going to see from Adam Lupis in the future?
Well, I would love to be in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
As we talked about.
Okay. Love it. Casting directors, listen up.
Yeah. And I don't know. I obviously, you know, I guess for the acting part of it, I would obviously, yeah, the dream is to work with like a famous director like Scorsese one day or something, right? Like something like that. Or to work with one of my dream actors like Al Pacino, even though he's like, he's 85 now. I don't know.
He's up there.
I know. I don't got much time.
You got to get there, man. You got to go. You got to go. If anything, reach out to his publicist and get him on your podcast.
Hey,
That might be the way.
dude. I've tried so many times. I don't
It'll
know.
happen, bro.
The thing about him, he's very like shy. He doesn't even
Elusive.
do he doesn't do the
Yes.
major talk shows really.
Yeah. He has that book where I think it was like one of the only interviews that he did was with the person who ended up writing his like kind of biography. And it's like,
was it the Sunny
chat.
Boy, Sunny or something?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I remember reading a book that it was like an interview style. And it was like,
yeah, it was over the years.
He like came into his apartment, it's full of plays. He's like, take a seat. I don't do interviews, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah, so,
that kind of thing.
But that's like the guy I want to interview, I want to work with. Like he's for me, or like Stallone, like you know, people like that I grew up watching, right? Like, of course. But yeah, that's my dream, right? And also listen, that's like I shouldn't say that's the dream because that's like it is a dream, but my dream is to just like I want to have a career in this business, you know. Even if I'm not a famous actor, I don't care if I just want to like have a I want to work and make money and make it where it's like that's my living. Like I can comfortably live on that. And I'm sure that's what most actors want to do. That's what they should look at. It should be like I want to become famous or you know, listen, people might say that they don't. Everyone would love to be working on the big movie sets with the stars. That's of course, right? But you shouldn't get into this business for that reason alone, right? Those are just perks. So
yeah, and if anything, it's a double-edged sword of you know, fame without fortune is also kind of a hard place to be. If everybody knows you for one thing, but like you're not living, you know, to pay your bills or things like that. There's no beautiful thing about being a starving artist either. So
yeah,
it is good that you're building, you know, around a structure in your life, both of you, that, you know, it's important to, you know, build around things that have solid foundation, like family, like, you know, love, like your, you know, belief in yourself or connection with other people. You know, you guys are grounded in some very solid foundation. So you already have had, you know, a career in a sense of that I think the two of you should be immensely proud of. And I'm just immensely grateful to have you guys for this chat. We've gone a little over the time, so I will let you guys plug away as I usually do. Thank you so much, listeners and viewers. If you've reached this point, you're amazing too. So let the people know where they can follow you and also where they can find your films. Please plug away. Matt, you could do plug, and then Adam, you could do the plug.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So you can find All Is Fine 89 on Tubi, on Plex TV. We're going to have some announcements in the coming weeks for additional streamers. Just finalizing those. And once those are out, we're definitely going to plug those and get those out there. But yeah, you can find the film on those two platforms for now. You can find us on Instagram at All Is Fine 89. And we're like that's pretty much our hub for information about the film, and even, you know, appearances like this where we're fortunate to talk about the film and with, you know, great people like yourself, and you know, that's where we promote it on that page. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, same with what Matt said. And then if people want to check out my podcast, it's just my first and last name on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, at Adam Lupis.
Yes.
Lupis. Adam is just like Adam. Wonderful. Wow, guys. So happy with this chat. And again, viewer, listener, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Put them in the comments. They're barren right now. Nobody's there. You could be the first one to comment. Imagine that. Oh my gosh. One day they will blow up and, you know, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I get to be in the comments. And one thing is you can ask a question, and I, myself, and probably Adam and Matt will do our absolute best to answer any of your questions, to continue conversation. The reason why, you know, and I'm talking to you, viewer and listener, the reason why people show up on podcasts is because they want to connect. They want to give back. They learn something. They want to grow their community. So one thing I've learned by even starting my own podcast is like, reach out. to the people that inspire you, because the worst thing they could do is just like maybe not see the message, maybe say we're too busy, or sorry, doesn't work right now. Or they might say, yes, absolutely, let's chat. And then you never know what you can come off of this. And I feel like I am inspired by the conversation I've just had with you, Adam, with
Likewise.
you, Matt. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
same
like,
here.
oh my God, I'm going to be in a movie with them someday. And like, I just know it and I feel it. And I'm so, so happy to have met the two of you, because and to have done my first two-person interview. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how it does it. Okay, yeah, that's like how I'll do it next time.
Bit of a juggling
And
act.
it was
Yeah,
fun. I really enjoyed it, and we got to some really deep places that I think the two of you too will have a nice little time capsule of who you were today. And
for
you'll
sure.
look back on it and go, my God, we were talking about the thing that we were going to do, and then it's happening, or like, oh my gosh, the superhero, I said it then. So I love this. I love this podcast medium, because it's just that. It's just a chat. And again,
Yeah.
viewer, listener, if you really like this, like, subscribe, share. Those make a difference, because if it made a difference for you, it definitely will make a difference for somebody else out there too. So please do that too. And finally, I end these things by just saying "and scene." So would anyone like to say "and scene"?
And
Adam?
soon.
All right. Okay, stop. Here we go.